welcome back to another episode of the On the Bloc podcast. You've got myself, Ryan, as the host today, and today I'm very lucky to be joined by Remy. So, Remy, if you want to introduce yourself, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. My name's Remy. I'm a content creator based up in Manchester. I've been working in sort of fashion and the creative side of things, creating content for around four years now. Worked with a whole host of brands, sort of dream brands that I never thought I'd even think of working with, which I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. But prior to kind of being in content creation, I had a fashion business that specialized in fashion events. So I started out when I was at university, working in retail, came up with an idea with some friends, and we had an events company called Manchester Fashion Industry, which was like a PR and events company, putting on fashion shows for loads of brands in the UK, giving them a platform, an opportunity to showcase what they had offline, because e-commerce was kind of huge at the time. There wasn't anything going on in the physical world, so we decided to create events for people that enable people to network from all around the fashion industry, so models, photographers, influencers, that sort of stuff. And yeah, we did that for a few years and it was really successful, and then kind of got into the world of content creation, and that's where I am today.
And going back to like touching on where you went from university, do you think like studying at university's got you to the place where you're at today? Do you think that's played a big part in it?
It's a little bit different for me. I've been on quite a different journey, I'd say. So for me, I actually studied law at university. So I did that, really enjoyed my degree. But I've always been into fashion, like since I was young, from like my parents, my brother. It's kind of been instilled in me. So I've always had that kind of, that love for fashion. But yeah, it's sort of always been there. But yeah, studied, went to university, got a part-time job working in retail, which was cool. So I was around, people who were into, clothes, fashion, whatever. And yeah, from there, we kind of, I kind of linked up with a few friends. The idea came about in Manchester because, like I said, there wasn't anything kind of going on at the time in Manchester. It's quite a big sort of city for fashion. Sort of outside London, I'd probably say it's kind of the next sort of big city. There's loads of like the fast fashion brands up here that people probably know, like sort of household names. And there's kind of a little bit of a buzz, a little bit of a scene kind of going on in Manchester. People kind of starting up independent labels and stuff, and that was kind of going on. But for us, it was kind of all online. That's where you kind of see things. There wasn't people kind of getting together in the like in the real world, kind of doing anything. So we saw a gap in the market, an opportunity to create a space where people could network, come to events, socialize, meet like-minded people. And really it was like the beginning of like a breath of fresh air for Manchester as a scene, and kind of we wanted to put like our hometown on the map. And we sort of managed to do that with MCR Fashion Industry. It was really good, really big, successful, working with loads of, up-and-coming brands, established brands, the likes of like Flannels, MCM. We worked with like the Couture Club, sort of, up-and-coming brands at the time, Manière Devoir. So brands that were kind of on the sort of brink of kind of getting started. We kind of gave them the opportunity to take that online presence and bring it to the real world and get people to see not only the clothes in real life and but also the brand ethos, and also, like I said, meet people who are also into that sort of scene, creative scene, fashion, art, music, whatever. We brought it all together and created a space and a network for people that could get together and enjoy themselves, and it was a great time, man. So
it's a interesting one because, like, obviously you're doing content creation yourself online. What do you think, especially with like the way the retail space has changed, the high street's changed? What is your perception on is that physical world still the same as it was? What are you seeing as the biggest changes, especially with like the recent stuff around NFTs and the big
Yeah,
focus online? Is Do you think that physical touch for fashion is falling out of favor? Do you think it's slipping away, or do you think it's just a change in the times?
yeah. I do think it's a massive change in the times. I think we're in a really interesting space right now where there's so much happening and it's happening rapidly, and it's actually it's a little bit uncertain, in the sense of where fashion's going now. Because, like you say, the digital aspect of things, blockchain, NFTs is all coming into play, and that physical side of things sort of becomes takes a back seat, so to speak. I think we've had the pandemic with we've seen the effect that's had on kind of fashion stuff, and online has kind of exploded. You know, um, people are still actively kind of interested in fashion, or shopping or whatever. So that retail aspect is always going to be busy with online. But then we've seen that have a knock-on effect on things like things that I attend, like London Fashion Week, Milan, places like that, where they've not been able to have physical shows, and they've had to sort of completely change the direction of how they present their collections. Everything's become digital now, so that digital aspect of things is is growing at the moment. It's really, really thriving, that kind of space, and we're moving into that kind of sort of Web3 space that people are sort of uncertain about at the moment, where the digital ownership of things and that digital aspect is going to be huge. Um, we're going to be seeing things like our physical clothes that we're wearing become digital assets. So you might go to a Bicester Village and buy, something in a shop. Obviously, that is, it's, an item that you can own, that you can physically wear. But I guess we're going to be seeing in the future sort of that come with a digital counterpart, so to speak. So the digital equivalent. We've seen brands kind of begin to enter into that space. The likes of Adidas, Prada, Nike, Gucci, all these kind of brands are really kind of focusing on the next kind of generation of ownership with their fashion labels. So they've all released sort of NFTs or digital assets so far. Nothing at the moment is sort of like a digital counterpart. There's like I think I've seen one collection which was an auction, which was a JW Anderson auction, which was like a one of one piece that they released. It was actually like a digital version of a cardigan that they released, which is really cool. And I think that's what you're going to be seeing in the future. Whether it's we're able to kind of buy an item of clothing and get the same thing digitally, and then we can kind of put it on whatever we have, whether that's digital avatars or whatever we have
Yeah,
of ourselves. That is the kind of direction that it's going. It's crazy to think about it now. I think it's hard for a lot of people to get their head around. There's a lot of confusion about it, but I think that whole Web3 space is about ownership and like um, fungibility, and not having having a one of one thing. And it's kind of really cool. Like, I don't know where the metaverse and that kind of thing is going, the direction fully at the moment. I know there's a lot kind of going on behind the scenes, and brands are really kind of investing in it. So we'll see whether it's going to kind of we'll go completely digital with everything. I think as much as it's scary to think about, we've got to think about the positives as well. So
yeah.
um, there's a lot of stuff kind of going on in that space and development. And I think, what do you kind of think about that space at the moment? Do you think it's kind of a bit daunting, or do you think it's kind of exciting?
I think it's one of them things where, like, with any change, anything, with any change, like, people are a bit, oh, I'm not sure, or if it's something new, it's something you don't understand. Like, it's very easy to be like, to dismiss it or write it off just because it's not what you're familiar with. And I think it's one of them things where the more we see uptake in it, the more we see, you know, interest in it, it grows. Like with any business or
Yeah.
change, it takes time, and I think we're very much at the early stages of that. Of what that looks like in 3, 5, 10 years is going to be completely different to what it is now. To say like a pre-social media age, maybe, or like what it
Yeah.
was like then to what it's like now is completely different. So I think from my perspective, I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I think for me, like I like clothes because you can wear them, and I like having a physical asset and like the feeling of getting a new pair of shoes, or
Yeah.
or feeling the fabric of wearing it, and that for me is what I like in personally in fashion. But I can fully understand why people would want it online and with an online, whether that be in a metaverse, whether with the change in COVID and people being used to communicating online, communicating in teams, whatever that may be. And I don't think it. I think it's just about understanding that there's going to be a balance. There's not. I think some people are thinking, oh well, everything's going online, like things are going to
Yeah.
disappear, and I don't think it's ever going to be that. It's not going to
Yeah.
be that. But I think people fear the unknown and think, oh no, it's the people are just going to be doing everything online. There's going to be no social aspect, but that's not
Yeah.
going to be the case. It's not going to be the case. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the brands do and like how you leverage it. Because like you say, if you go and buy one thing and then think of all the added extras and the ways brands can make you feel special as a customer, and I think that's a really unique point of what brands can do
100%.
to think to build that customer relationship where you know the barriers to entry and the cost of production for things online and getting stuff to people is a lot smaller. I mean,
Yeah.
like there's obviously costs of design and people with serious online skills, but getting a garment from China to the UK or America to Australia is it's a very different thing when it's a not a physical asset, and I think that's what brands will utilize to make consumers feel a bit special and think, right, what else can we offer? What can we do that's different? What can we give the customer to make them feel and keep there's another way of driving business of
Yeah.
we want to shift X amount of physical assets because we've got stock. Is there something we could throw in? Is there you know a tie-in for an NFT? Is there a online whatever that may be, whatever is coming? And I think that's where it gets interesting because the more we see it, and especially now on Instagram, and when you see online offers, and you think, oh, 10% off of 20% off where XYZ, you think, oh yeah, well, so what? Like you have a sale every other week, so
Yeah.
what is that extra incentive? What is that thing? And I think that's what it's going to be interesting for me to see what are these brands going to give people or to try and make you spend your money with them.
No, 100%. I think like you said, everything you said there, you hit the nail on the head. Customer loyalty, you got to think as a consumer, you buy a piece of clothing, that's an asset, you've invested your money into it. Wouldn't it be exciting if you bought a pair of Jordans and, it came with an NFT or something and something exciting. It gave you exclusive access to a Jordan club where you could get exclusive content, or you were the first to get, we know how difficult it is to pick up, trainers, you're going through raffles and stuff like that. Imagine if there was Nike released a Jordan NFT, you were able to pick that up for whatever price, and it gave you exclusive access to every single drop, of Jordans that came out in that year or whatever, or for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever. That becomes an asset, becomes something that people
Once,
will be desperate to have. Yeah, so and it's also a way of brands looking after customers as well, like you say, giving them exclusive access, giving them discounts, maybe giving them, free things, um, you know, Adidas has just done their collaboration with Bored Ape Yacht Club. That NFT collaboration where you get merchandise. So you've got the NFT, the digital asset. Then they're gonna slowly release merchandise as well. Kind of exclusive. So for the holders. So it becomes an exclusive collection no one has. Only those whatever 5,000, 10,000 people have access to. Um, and then the utility in the future keeps on growing. Maybe from there, you get every Adidas drop, every Yeezy drop, you get access to that, you get access to Beyonce, Ivy Park drops, whatever it is. Like there's so much, um, you know, opportunity with this sort of digital aspect of things. So, like you say, people are looking at it from the negative side of things, the daunting side of things, where it's kind of we're going to be in a complete digital world, no interaction in real life. It's scary, but there's a lot of opportunities. I think we'll always have that physical aspect, human interaction, but we should be excited about that whole digital world of things, ownership, utility, and moving forward. I think fashion should be one of the first places to embrace it. I'm really glad to see that brands are kind of jumping into it, head first and investing into it. And we'll see how it goes in the future. But yeah, it's really exciting, man.
I think it's just having thought about that is like when you think about exclusive shoes or you know fakes and copies and replicas
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and you think if like Nike say, well, we're releasing 10,000 Jordans, everyone who gets this Jordan's got an NFT, but you can only get it if you get it from source purchase. So maybe it stops resellers from reselling them if they want to stop that. It maybe stops fakes because, like, if you've got a fake
Yeah.
pair or a replica pair, then you didn't get that. You didn't get that
Exactly.
NFT.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think
So
that's what essentially the blockchain is. That coding and that ownership. I think that's what people are sort of misinterpreting. Like you say, it stops counterfeit things, it stops counterfeit goods, it stops, it becomes unique. That's, the whole point of a non-fungible asset, a non-fungible token. So yeah, it's amazing. So we should be utilizing technology to our best interest. I think definitely.
yeah, 100%. I agree. Um, Next topic, kind of touching back on what you said there about your influences. So when you previously mentioned that it was in your family and your brother looking for fashion, where would you say your interest from fashion start, and how has that led to what you would describe as your personal style now?
Yeah, a lot of things, I guess, like family. That kind of comes from mum and dad, a brother, kind of, always kind of telling me to look after my parents and things like that. So I think that kind of is instilled with you from a young age. And I think you go into the wider world and you pick up influences from everywhere. Um, whether that be, when you're younger, kind of looking at people on TV, magazines. They were kind of big back in the day. I think we sort of don't have that now. We've got obviously everything social media. So that's obviously played a massive part in stuff. You know, um, I'm a huge fan of a lot of fashion pages. Like it's an honor to be on this podcast. Like for me, Bloc's been like one of the biggest pages on Instagram for years. I've been a fan. Um,
Thanks, appreciate it.
even yeah, like it genuinely like I mean that like hand on heart.
Thank you.
Obviously I've followed the page, followed the growth. I've seen how that's developed. So that whole like style aspect, that's obviously where I get a lot of my inspiration from. You know, kind of looking at upcoming trends. I think that's where social media has been huge for fashion. Um, for me personally, the ability to be able to showcase something that I love and then put it out there to the world and have interaction with people and find out about new trends and meet people like yourself. And it is amazing. Like, I think, there's a lot of negatives that come with social media, like anything, but it's giving people careers, it's giving people a space to be creative and be, happy and then create content. And it's given people work, and it's been fantastic. So yeah, I think for me, social media is probably the primary sort of inspiration and the place where you kind of get all the trends and stuff that come out. Um, but yeah, I think over time you refine your style and you go through different phases and you change up and switch up things, and depending on the time, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good to kind of move with the times, and obviously have your kind of core things that you love and you'll always kind of be wearing and stuff. But there's loads of stuff out there, more designers that have come out through social media, giving people ability to create brands and stuff. And yeah, I think the independent side of things, with a lot of independent creators and brands and people developing businesses, it's really it's really exciting time for fashion. So
Definitely. And just going back to like influences and how you said you like your style changes and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Is there anything you could think of from like that you think of your own style maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even longer, that you think, oh no, looking back at that, is there anything you can pick out? You like a phase where I'm like, I regret that
yeah,
now.
probably pre-social media, I reckon. There was that kind of I don't know if you remember, like the Vivian Westwood, like the boots, the pirate boots, that kind of era, like V-cut, V-neck t-shirt,
Tight t-shirts.
and all that kind of stuff, and like cardigans. It was a crazy time. Probably that was probably the last time that I was. I probably look back and think, oh God, what kind of era was that? But at the time, it was kind of, and then we all used to wear like, you probably see like the memes, like the Rihanna t-shirt, and like,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
like at college. Like like the Rihanna t-shirt, the top man chinos,
Top Mancinos and the
Toms.
like Toms, yeah, and the Flossies, yeah, trainers, and yeah. So that was probably the last time that I think, oh, what the hell, like, what was I doing? But yeah, I think more recently, everything's been quite. The style hasn't changed too drastically, I'd say. Um, you know, there's nothing at the moment like I'm thinking, in the last 5 years, why was I wearing that? So, which is good, but I'm sure probably in a few years' time I'll look back and think, what was that kind of era where everyone was wearing that? But I think for me, like the sort of the minimal kind of things, that kind of style, is kind of timeless. So you're not really going to look back on stuff at the moment and think, that's kind of too crazy and it's embarrassing or anything like that. But I think we'll all look back on in a few years' time, and the styles will have changed naturally, and we'll kind of question ourselves. It's just human nature, I guess. So,
Is there anything that you think now, style wise, that you don't mess with, that you think, or something that's really popular and you think, oh no, I just isn't me? Because I always say to people
what
like,
about you?
it's I was trying to think. Uh, I I don't know. It's not really. Well, maybe like I used to live in LA, and I think like there's a proper LA
Okay.
style of a band t-shirt, a flannel around your waist, ripped
Yeah,
jeans, and like I
yeah,
don't think it looks bad.
yeah.
I just think it's almost like the Jerry Lorenzo
I
go-to
was gonna say
thing,
the Jerry look. Yeah,
and I don't think it looks bad. I just think when you've seen too much of something, and it's
yeah,
just like, but like I say with used to working in music, like music's very much, some people absolutely love a genre of music and some people absolutely hate it. So
yeah,
it's the same with fashion or art or anything. Like some people can really gravitate to something, but some people absolutely hate it. And that's one of the things where I'm like, I'm just sick. Like I remember this being big in 2016 and I loved it then, but I'm like,
leave it.
just, it's just one of them things where
Yeah,
I'm like, I've seen too much of this now.
yeah. No, I hear you on that, and I think that whole look, was kind of at the time, we thought it was normal. Like you do with any trend, you just think, yeah, um, like you say, it's not necessarily bad look when you actually break it down. But I
No,
think
no,
when it's been oversaturated with, you're seeing it on social media all the time, and you just kind of it's pushed in your face constantly. You look back and you think, oh God, But there's you can kind of follow fashion, through the ages, like prior to that kind of whole Jerry look. I guess there was the kind of that was kind of an interesting time. There was all that kind of stuff going on with like those kind of designers, like Virgil coming out and the off-white look, rest his soul. You know, um, there's a whole group of designers coming out at the time, and like people were kind of, I think social media was kind of a place where people were kind of doing too much with sort of kind of it was very hype phase.
yeah, the
You have
supreme babe phase.
yeah, there's a lot of hype brands pushed out and like head to toe in like Bape and head to toe in Off White and head to toe in Gucci, and it was just it's been very interesting. Like when you look back on all the trends and stuff, and I remember like I was big into like Saint Laurent. So like that whole kind of phase, with kind
Yeah,
of like
the Chelsea boots and
the Chelsea boots and like
with
the white boots and like the jeans, like the skinny jeans, and so I used to work in retail, so I kind of was lucky because I was able to kind of see things first, and I was always around kind of the latest trends and stuff like that. So it was cool for me to kind of watch kind of brands come in, like I said, like brands like Off White and Fear of God and stuff, and like they came through, and how the silhouettes and styles have changed, because that was quite like a you went from kind of the skinny kind of look to kind of more relaxed kind of baggy stuff, and then even now with the pandemic and stuff, like it's styles have sort of changed now. Everything's a lot more casual, dressed down. Like people used to go out in like suits and stuff, like on a night out, and it's crazy. It's like styles have completely changed now. I think it's a lot more. People are more comfortable in what they're wearing. I think comfort kind of comes first, which is great for me. Like I think that's as long as you're comfortable with what you're wearing, you know, you'll be happy. So I think that's definitely like it's been a really important phase in fashion. I think for like you know kind of comfort first, and like that whole relaxed silhouette. Like I really enjoyed it, so it's cool.
do you think do you think everything's got a bit more homogenous? That
Yeah,
like you know you can't tell whether someone's from New York or from London or from Shanghai, or that because of social media that it's all got merged together, and there's no like maybe 10 years ago you could be like, oh, that they're definitely from the West Coast or they're definitely from London, and I feel like now you can't, and I don't know whether that's a bad thing or a good thing, that maybe everything's oversaturated and there's no uniqueness,
yeah,
or
yeah.
or
No, I definitely
because like definitely like you used to be able to see, especially in music, because like I remember like when I was in like high school and college, you'd always look at music videos of like Eminem, Lil Wayne, Kanye,
yeah,
Drake when his really early days. What are they wearing? Like what, what's big, and that'd be an American style, and that style definitely wasn't what was in UK music. It was
yeah.
there was
Definitely does. Yeah,
whereas now I feel like it's you know very similar across the board, and I don't know whether
yeah.
that's a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, like you say, where's that individuality kind of come into play? Because I think you know social media is giving people the ability to kind of see everything. So nothing is kind of before you kind of have a select group of people that would kind of dress a certain way, and that was kind of within their kind of group, a very small select group. Now on social media, that's kind of nothing kind of stays hidden anymore. There's no kind of underground trends or anything. And if they are, they kind of don't stay that way for very long. They're kind of pushed out, into the wider audiences. So, but yeah, I think it is very difficult. I think you kind of that whole. I'm really into that whole like Far East, that kind of aesthetic. How they kind of dress in like places like Korea, Japan, China, like that kind of look. In the very early days, that was kind of a real breath of fresh air, and I think maybe that's kind of coming into play now, like over here. But like you say, like back in the days, you'd have that whole kind of American aesthetic, that whole college style, that kind of look. You know, things like even, you couldn't even get like Jordans over here, like for a long time. It was very rare to be able to pick up a pair of of Jordans or anything like that over here, and it's kind of completely done a U-turn now. We've embraced or kind of caught up with that kind of style. But the internet has provided that, I guess, with e-commerce and being able to shop online and being able to get looks from different parts of the world. And I guess it's more difficult to be an individual these days and be kind of have your own unique style. It's a lot harder with so much exposure and accessibility out there of things. So good and bad, good and bad, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely think the same because I even feel it because like if someone said to me, "Well, what's your personal style?" I'd say I wouldn't be able to just say like it's this
One thing,
because
yeah,
I and I think that also makes it difficult when you're trying to pick outfits and trying to figure out what you like as well because you're like, well, I've seen them wearing that and I really like a bit of that, but like you say, I really like the sort of Eastern Asia sort of style, especially like Korea and Japan, especially like the Japanese designers like like Yoji,
yeah,
and then some of the brands like Needles and things that come
mm-hmm.
out of there out of Japan like that, and I'm like, they're really sick, but I'm just like, I don't know whether it's not my style. Like I can appreciate it,
Yeah,
and I'd love to be able to wear it, but it's just not me, if that makes sense. And I think that's
yeah,
where that Instagram thing is, and the social media age has changed stuff where people try to maybe force a style that's not them or experiment, which is fine. Like it's totally fine,
yeah,
but it's really easy to get lost and
yeah,
to get lost in all these different sort of niches and spaces. And I think it's going to be interesting, like you say, to try to figure out how you become unique or what even is unique anymore, if that's you know even possible, if there's so much globalization of everything. Like you say, I think one of the things you said there was really interesting, of underground things don't stay underground too long. And you think how if you post something on TikTok, how quickly things can blow up on TikTok and suddenly everyone knows about it.
yeah,
Like it's crazy to think that what you think is underground is suddenly really mainstream. And one of the things I've seen is like Arc'teryx jackets over the past
yeah,
couple of years have gone mad. Like
yeah,
I really like Arc'teryx, and but like I'm seeing like all these trends of on TikTok of like
yeah.
people taking showers in them, and just to prove like it's waterproof. Like
What proof? Yeah,
yeah, it's like yeah, we get it. Like that's what they're designed for. And I'm like how quickly that sort of becomes a trend for. I don't know how long it becomes a trend for, or because I'm sure all the people that bought Arc'teryx 5 years ago, when like hiking, mountaineering, exploring, whatever, maybe might be thinking, looking at this, thinking, "What the hell's going on?" But like you say,
yeah,
it doesn't take long for something to quickly change, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, is open to interpretation.
yeah. No, 100%. Like you say, with the likes of TikTok and stuff like that, within a few weeks, things have kind of the paradigm shifted completely. Like things that you know trends are not trending anymore, or it's a very difficult space to kind of navigate at the moment. like I say, on the flip side, things are obviously new trends are coming out, but you know, things aren't sticking anymore. It's kind of what's hot for the moment. Whether that's for a few weeks or a few months, and then it's kind of completely shifted. I think it's difficult as well. I think probably when we were younger, you kind of you'd invest in certain pieces that you would be able to um, keep for years or whatever, or things that you kind of um, love that you'd hold on to, and things are kind of moving so quickly trends wise. You've got to be really you've got to be really within yourself, feel like comfortable. That's I think with fashion these days, whatever you kind of comfortable in, you got to go with, because the trends are always kind of moving. Sometimes like you said, you might see something that's kind of not necessarily you, and it's being pushed in your face, and it's like you want to invest in stuff, and you think you're having second thoughts. It's not really it's not really me, and like, do I want to invest in that? And but yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think everything's so quick these days; it's moving all the time. It's just it's just a volatile kind of sort of life we're kind of living at the moment in terms of trends and stuff. So really, really interesting, man.
It's like you say, with like people's attention spans and how quickly things are changing, especially like I think TikTok's just shown like music in the music industry of like how quickly a song can blow up to how quickly a
Yeah,
song disappears. And I've noticed that is that I can remember like in college like specific albums where that was like a
yeah,
moment in time of
yeah,
like I don't know, like is it Watch the Throne, is it Take Care, or when these albums come out you remember it and you remember listening to the whole album. But like now you flick through a song on Spotify, a single pops up, albums are 30 songs long now, and you don't remember it. Like people's attention spans just is it because of social media that we don't have it anymore? That oh well,
mm,
this is good last week, but not this week. And like you say, I think finding your own personal style or things you like are important, because
mm,
you could buy something that's 150 quid and think, oh yeah, this I've seen everyone wearing this, and then a month later you're like, oh, like why did I buy that? That's not my style, or I can't
mm-hmm,
see me wearing that again. And I think that comes down to like the sustainability aspect, which I know is a big topic in fashion at the moment, of how much can we keep consuming and how much can we keep buying and buying and buying and buying before it becomes too much. And I think
yeah,
that's maybe where the scales have tipped a bit, with like vintage being a big thing now and thrifting being a big thing and buying secondhand and Depop. Whereas I think when I was at college and school, there was a almost a perception of that's like, we don't do that, or you just don't go
yeah,
to a thrift shop, or
yeah,
and I think it's good that it's changed. It's good that people are thinking, we can't keep doing this, but is social media just like speeding that process up, that people just think we need to keep consuming? But when do we draw the line? It's going to be an interesting time, and maybe that's where that NFT thing fits into it, as if we can't keep consuming in the real world, because resources don't last forever. So is that where we say, do NFTs come into play? So it is going to be interesting where that space goes.
yeah. No, 100%. Like everything you said there, totally agree with. And I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and we were kind of talking about how social media is just kind of ticking constantly, and things are kind of coming out, and nothing really kind of sticks anymore. And a lot of things as well are kind of at the moment. I think you know one of the kind of it's a positive and it's a negative of social media, but I think you're seeing a lot of um, I guess you're seeing a lot of people who are living maybe more affluent lifestyles than you possibly are, or they have access to things that you don't have. and you start to question yourself and your where you're at in kind of your lifestyle and your journey, and you're seeing, for example, you're seeing people with, you know, the latest trainers or the latest bag or the latest car, whatever, and you kind of, those sort of things were maybe, like when we were younger, were kind of reserved for people who were, maybe had worked years for it, had saved up for it. Now you've got kind of youngsters who have got like, they're head to toe in designer clothes. They're like, 14, 15. It's crazy. Like, um, you know, for most people, they can't afford that lifestyle. They can't afford those things. Um, so from a consumer aspect as well, and then, I think the levels of, or sort of aspirations for items has kind of been driven to an all-time high through social media. You know, you're constantly seeing things being pumped out, and the next big thing, and the next big thing. It's really hard to, kind of be comfortable
Well,
within yourself, and and within staying within your lane, because, if you're seeing people, with the latest gear, the latest designer gear, and things aren't cheap. Hundreds of pounds and thousands of pounds on some items. It just becomes like a norm, to see like these items, every single day. You know, um, whereas before, like when we were growing up, maybe people would really take their time to save up and invest in things, and have these pieces, and it would be, a grail piece that they would keep, and now it's just kind of a flash in the pan thing, and it's normal to have a designer bag or a designer pair of trainers, or it's normal. If you don't have it now, it's almost seen as, um,
not
sort of, yeah, it's almost seen as
not the norm.
unnormal. Yeah, so it's a really, I guess for youngsters and people kind of like that, kind of growing up in this kind of, this generation, kind of, they'll be questioning themselves and saying, well, I don't have that, I don't have, I can't afford that, or, are they trying to live beyond their means? Are they trying to aspire to too much? Um,
Must be so hard. Like
yeah.
when I look back now, and I think I'm kind of glad that when I was at high school, we only had like a Sony Ericsson T610, or yeah,
Hmm.
pay as you go. You didn't have the internet on your phone. I think the iPhones just started coming out as I was sort of leaving high school.
Hmm.
So I think like you say, for young people now, the pressure and seeing people like you say, like if you what you see on Instagram is obviously only someone's highlights, really, isn't it? It's you only post like the things you really like or the best bits. And if like at 30, at 12, 13, 14, whatever, you don't fully understand the way the world works, do you? You, you don't earn your own money. You don't understand the value of money and how much things cost. But if you're thinking of like you're 13, 14, 15, and seeing some someone, I don't know, in a really affluent part of the world who's only a few years older than you, and you're thinking, oh, why aren't I like them, or why have they got all this and I haven't, and it must be so hard, and I I think that's what it's a constant topic in the news with like young people on Instagram and TikTok, and how you change that. I don't really know, but I just feel glad that I didn't have those pressures when I was at
Yeah,
school.
100%. Yeah, we're lucky. Yeah, we're
It's
lucky. We kind of, we were born at a certain time, and yeah, now it's a completely different game. Like you say, how do you kind of change the people's mindsets? And I think that sustainable aspect of stuff is really important. Kind of, you know, more brands who are kind of having that ethical side to what they produce and stuff is really, really important. And I think they should be kind of championed. Um, I think there's almost, you know, um, there's a beauty in kind of, independent designers as well, and kind of what they do and taking their time on collections. And I know some great designers who have been able to, you know, social media and stuff has been fantastic for them, but they're, been able to kind of have that art aspect of what they do, and really taking the time to craft the collection and think about the designs and what it means, and not just churning out, collection after collection and trying to jump on the latest trend. Um, so, we should really kind of champion that side of things. But the whole sustainable aspect of things is super important. We can't underestimate that, and we should, definitely be more conscious in how we're shopping, how we're consuming fashion. You know, keeping on to things, and obviously for years, and if we're not, kind of passing them down to people, or flipping them, whatever, or thrifting, all that kind of stuff is so important, man. It can't be underestimated. So yeah, really glad you touched on that as well.
In terms of like where you look to shop now, do you think your shopping habits have changed? Where do you, where are your favorite places to shop? Because like everyone still shops online, and but has your shopping habits changed? Like where are your
Yeah, I
go-to
think
places?
I think they have. Yeah, I think the whole kind of retail space has come change completely now. I think a lot of brands have been driven online, and they don't have that physical presence anymore. Um, I think there's you can count on your hand like how many kind of especially for kind of guys, you kind of go onto any high street in the kind of UK at the moment, you're gonna have like the same, 4 or 5 shops. There's really not that many anymore. Um, so I guess from like a high street perspective, you are quite limited in where you can go. Um, so naturally, you kind of look online to find things, and that kind of ties into the social media things, of kind of what's trending, and what's looking for things you like, and finding your own style. Um, so yeah, I think I'm more kind of swayed to um, the kind of online side probably now more than ever. But that's probably due to the way that times have changed. I would have I think you know it's nice to see brands still having that some physical aspect, and kind of having the shops that you can go into, feel the product, try it on, you know find your size, find your fit, whatever. Like I'm old school like that, so I love that. Um, but I guess the online world has been um, has given access to different uh, you know designers and different parts of the world. Like we touched on before, maybe you wouldn't be able to get certain things in the UK that now you can shop online and really mix up your style and stuff. So it's yeah, double edged sword, as they say. So
Yeah, I think
what about yourself?
yeah, like you say. I think everyone is shifted to online just because of, like you say, it opens up the options. It gives you convenience, and I think it does depend on where you live as well. Because like I'm from Stoke, so whenever I used to go or wanted to go shopping in person, conveniently for me it'd be either Manchester or Birmingham,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we just in Stoke you'd have Top Man and River Island, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't really like, not not to say there's anything wrong with high street stuff, because there isn't, but I
Yeah.
just didn't like that stuff. I wanted, um, you couldn't get any designer stuff here. Not to say that it was only designer stuff, but like there wasn't that. And I think like even now, like you say with a minimal style, like I really like COS, I really like Arquette, I really like Uniqlo, and to go to them, I've got to go to Manchester or Liverpool or
Yeah.
Birmingham,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like I like you say, I'm old school too. That especially for trousers, like trousers for me are a
Yeah.
pain. They're a pain.
Yeah.
So I want to go and I want to go and try them on. Like, how do they
Yeah.
fit? Because
Same.
like
Same.
my legs or body shape is completely different to this model guy. So I'm like,
Yeah.
how's that going to fit me? Like, I feel like I've got really short legs. So is this going to work? So um, yeah, like I think the retail space, like it's sad to see the high street sort of,
Mm.
especially where I'm from, disappear. And it is literally disappearing. Even a big shopping
Yeah.
centre here is, there's nothing there.
Nothing. Yeah.
Um, but is it just an opportunity for retail spaces to create something more unique? Is it an opportunity for
100%.
smaller
I was gonna
designers and
say.
smaller brands to do something different? Like give people a reason to go. Like I said, like I went Bicester Village yesterday, and a part of it is like, oh, being able to get stuff at an affordable price, but it's an experience. It's a day out. It's something to do,
Yeah.
and I think that's what you know places have got to try and build is
Yeah.
you've got to give people a reason to want to go when the convenience and ease and barriers are almost non-existent when you're sitting on your bed and just typing away.
Exactly. Yeah, which we have been for 2 years. Like, retail's been, there hasn't been over the last 2 years, I guess, with the pandemic and stuff. People have become accustomed to jumping online, and buying, clothes or whatever. And yeah, I guess the high street has suffered, and they've made the business decision to kind of pull out of the high street and take their money and build an online platform and push their money into that, and scale that. So yeah, it is sad to see, and I think definitely if the our cities and towns or whatever want people to get back out there and increase that footfall, then it's an opportunity now to use maybe those empty spaces to work with these brands that are give them the platform and give them the space to be able to do it, because they love the opportunities. I think like you say, you're from Stoke, and your nearest city is obviously Manchester, and we've had a bit of a like any city in the UK, you have that kind of drop in footfall and stuff like that, and there's loads of empty units now on the high street and stuff, and where they'd be filled and stuff like that before. Now it's time for brands to kind of be given the opportunity to go into those spaces, do pop-ups, do interactive things. I'm sure they'll be hugely successful. I can think of a number of brands who have had successful pop-ups. You know, um, likes of like Represent, um, Gymshark, Cole Buxton, brands like that, who are kind of were online. They've got that fan base. It's quite a strong. This is the thing about these online brands. They build that strong connection with people, and people are really invested in it, and they want that kind of aspect. It's like anything, you build a community, and that community will kind of if they're given that space, imagine a pop up for a brand that you've just seen online, but you're gonna be able to meet the owners. You're gonna be able to see how the things are designed. You're gonna be able to see the collections in real life, try stuff on, meet people that are like-minded, who like the brand like you, who are into the same music as you, who have the same style as you. Like, these retail spaces need to capitalize on that, and get people out, back on the streets, and work with these local brands, and really push it out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like that especially like seeing what brands like you say like representing Cole Buxton have done, as I'm a fan of both, and when you haven't got the overheads to start with of a retail space, but when you can create that cult following and seeing what the guys I really think what the guys at Cole Buxton do is great, is giving
Oh
people the
yeah.
insight of this is our process, this is us designing it. It's not
Mhm.
some big corporation fronting it,
Yeah.
like it's. And I think that's what people appreciate, that they can see the hard work and the process, and they feel more involved and feel more of a part of it. Whereas, a big multinational corporation, you don't see any of the background
Yeah.
stuff, you don't see any of that. Um, so yeah, I think like given the opportunity, more brands like that could thrive. I just think it's where, and it's someone's going to have to foot the cost of retail space and the rise in electricity and costs. It's challenging, but I think people just need to be given the opportunity to you know, to try and see if it works and give it a go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Um,
like we say, there's all these brands like give them the opportunity to showcase themselves. They've got the ability to do it, and they've got creative ideas, and it's they'll be unique in their aspects that they take. And you've got I'm sure that you can think of a number of brands that you love, like you know you, if you saw they were doing a pop up in wherever, you'd head down. You get to meet people behind the team. You get to meet the owners and chat to them like normal people, and meet people who are really invested in the brand like yourself, and whether they're offering discounts and stuff like that. There's so much opportunity, and I think it's a shame if it doesn't happen. It really is. Um, it needs to happen more. I think we need to start a campaign and stuff, get behind it, and push it out.
Definitely after being stuck inside for 2 years, I'm sure people
Yeah.
are ready to go now. Um, Still kind of touching on shopping habits and where you buy stuff from. What are the latest things that you've picked up, or what sort of things have you got your eye on at the minute? Is there anything on that wish list?
Um, Probably nothing on the wish list at the moment, to be honest. Um, I think kind of touching on shopping habits and stuff like that. I think maybe before where I try and buy quantity and kind of be on that side of things. I think now, as I kind of you know get older and stuff and realize, I think it's more about having quality pieces like I kind of love and will have for a period of time, classic pieces, um, and invest in, rather than buying like, you know, 20 black tees, like just have like, one or two that you really love and like you like the silhouette and you're comfortable with. And like you say, it doesn't have to be like breaking the bank. It can be, going to like the cars road, wherever, um, Uniqlo or wherever, Arkit, having, looking at the style of the fit and really kind of, right, okay, that's like the perfect silhouette for me. Be comfortable in it. It might cost, £40 or it might cost £100 or whatever, whatever it is price point wise, but being really comfortable with kind of what I'm wearing and having pieces that I love and generally feel great in is, it's good for me. And I worked in luxury retail for years, so I've been fortunate to have access to stuff, um, you know, at, staff prices or whatever like that. So I picked up a number of like grails over the years, and but was really lucky to be able to pick up stuff like for good prices, or and not having to invest too much in certain things. So I kind of I mix the kind of high street stuff and the more luxury stuff, and things that I'll wear for years to come. But occasionally it's nice to pick up something that you kind of is trending, or you kind of you got your eye on and stuff, and you want to experiment. I think that shouldn't kind of be you shouldn't turn our nose up at kind of experiment with styles and stuff, and um, you know creating outfits and being creative and stuff, and picking up things perhaps that not necessarily we're going to have for generations or whatever, but it's nice to kind of fleet in between the two. So, but yeah, definitely trying to be more conscious about picking up quality pieces that I'm going to keep hold of. So yeah, like
Goes back goes back to sustainability, doesn't it? And like you say, if your cost per wear like of a you may spend 35 quid, 40 quid on a decent t-shirt, but it's going to last you a long time. But
mhm,
how long's that £5 H&M or Primark, or like how long is that going to last you? And I think you take a bit more pride and a bit more care of something if it's cost you a bit of money. So
yeah,
if it's a £5 Primark t-shirt and it's just going, oh, I've got a stain on it, so I'm chucking it in the bin, like
yeah,
that, it can't be good, can it? It can't be. So yeah, I agree. I think that when you get older and you definitely consider it more, and I've definitely thought the same. As like, oh, this is a bit more expensive, but you know, the quality's there. I'm gonna wear it
Yeah.
more. It's gonna last me longer. Um,
Yeah.
and it's definitely a bit more in the thought process than when, you know, maybe obviously cost does come into it, and if you can't afford it, then you have to go for the cheaper and you know the more affordable option. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like if
Yeah.
you can't, like you say, it goes back to spending within your means, and
Mhm.
um, but I suppose there is always that trade off of you know what how can this t-shirt cost £3? Like how you know
Yeah.
or what is it fair, and you know are you know workers getting paid what they should, are the fabrics and sourced where they should be, and you know it's I think it's a lot more of a discussion now, um, and definitely I think it's definitely in my consideration now more than it was 5 years ago easily, or 10 years ago it wouldn't have even been a thought.
Yeah.
um, I think it's good that a lot of people are thinking that way now,
Yeah.
um, and it can only be good for the long run, I guess.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. What do you think about kind of the trends at the moment? Like, is there any kind of trends that you think, yeah, like that's kind of that's kind of me, or things that you admire? Because with trends, it's not necessarily something that you invest in. Like you said before, you kind of you like that sort of Asian style like I do, but you might not necessarily invest in it, or you might just look at it and admire it from afar. So is there any kind of trends that you kind of you kind of keep an eye on, or you kind of feel at the moment?
Um, I suppose, like I think I went through a phase where like I was like super into minimalism and super like it, and that was what I liked. Of you know, you could have your simple color palette, no logos, no nothing. You couldn't really tell whether it cost £2 or 100. Well, maybe you could, maybe on the cut a little bit or the silhouette, maybe. But I went through sort of that phase, and I still like lots of stuff like that. Um, but then I also like say this is where you get when you see loads of influencers, you're like, oh, I like that, or I'll take a bit of that. Like
Yeah.
I really like streetwear and like
Hmm.
skate sort of style, like
Hmm.
typically things like Carhartt and Stussy, and like I'm by no means a skateboarder. Like
Hmm.
I've got no coordination. I can't do that, but I really appreciate the style of like loose baggy jeans and you know dunks and like Stussy Carhartt, that sort of style and workwear style. Like I really like that as well.
Hmm.
Um, and then also like the sort of core trends that's like of like outdoorsy sort of stuff, like I don't know, North Face to an extent, Arc'teryx,
Yeah.
Gramici, Solomon, like I like that as well. And I think I take like bits from all of them and try to put it together. Sometimes it
Yeah.
works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think that's where it's hard because you think I'm like, oh, I've got bits that I think this fits in a minimalist silhouette, and then I'm like, I've got bits that are like, you know, streetwear and that fit in that box, and then I think that's where like I find it challenging. Where I'm like, I like a bit of that trend, and I like a bit of that, and I think that's where you say you don't be afraid to sort of experiment. But then I also like sportswear stuff. So I love Nike. I always
Mhm.
have. I always will.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with tracksuits, and you can't go wrong with Nike trainers. And looking at my wardrobe full of trainers here, I've got a problem. But it's just one of them things, and I think like picking the things you like, and I think knowing that if you like it, then so what? And I think like some people, I think maybe when I was in school and college, I'd have thought, nah, like I wouldn't wear that, like I can't wear that. And
Mhm.
I think where you say like Instagram's giving people an opportunity to express themselves, and I feel like that's what it's done for me. is that I can be like, well, I like that, and other people like that, so
Yeah.
what's the issue? Whereas with pre-social media and being where I'm from, I feel like there was a very certain style, and culture plays a big part of it. And like Stoke's a very working class city. It's a very, to an extent, based around the football club too. So there was a very big affinity to that sort of football
That
style
sort of style. Yeah.
of Stone Island, CP, Gazelles, you know,
Yeah.
Paul Smith, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't ever feel like that was my style because it wasn't.
Yeah.
But because where I'm from, that was the style. I didn't feel like I fitted into that style.
Yeah.
But like now, because of Instagram and the change, which I feel like it's been a positive for me, that I can express myself and with the things that I like, but that wasn't what the people around me liked,
Yeah.
and that's why I feel like it's been a good thing.
No, 100%. I
Uh,
hear you on that, and I think like you say, for me, kind of growing up in Manchester, maybe I've been exposed to more stuff than you, but I know I've got friends that have lived in smaller towns, smaller cities, where they're, like you say, the styles are completely different, and it's given them an opportunity to see that they can wear certain things and they can express themselves as much as they want, and they're not the only ones, and not to be afraid to wear things, and so that's a great positive that we should definitely be taking from kind of the social side of things, and given that community aspect, like I say, with everything, even the without you kind of thinking about it, the Bloc page and all that is a community, like all those people that are following and interacting with stuff, and it's a community of people. Like it's a unique group of people. They like the style, they like the aesthetic, they share an interest in it, and they've got a passion for it, and it's great for people at the end of the day. I think being happy and expressing yourself is one of the best things in life. So we should definitely strive for that, and it's a real huge positive.
yeah, I think like setting up the page and being able to like you say network and speak with people and meet people I'd never think of meeting or chat to people I'd never
Mm,
never think of speaking to, and working with brands and stuff that I wouldn't have thought that was possible, or
yeah,
like I wouldn't have said that was something I'd be doing. um, and like you say, that community is a massive part of it, of opening the doors and giving me the opportunities for certain things, and it's been fantastic really. That leads me kind of onto the last sort of topic, is from you being a content creator that you are, like how have you found working with brands, and what is your process? Because I know there's lots of different approaches, and of because like for me, like I don't really approach brands. I just wait for brands to come to me, and we work something out. But from running Block, I get lots of people reaching out to me
mm-hmm.
and saying, oh, hey, I'm a really big fan. Can you send me some clothes? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not a clothing brand.
So brand,
Like,
yeah,
and I'm like, and
uh-huh.
it's like, I'm a really big fan, and I'm like, how can you be a really big fan of something that I don't have?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like that for me is like obviously the worst way to approach a brand is, oh, I'm a really big fan, but I don't know any of your products, and it's so easy to tell when it's a copy and paste message. And
yeah.
what is your advice for people that want to get involved and do it the right way?
I think, like you said, there's lots of different approaches. I think for me, I was like everyone else, kind of, you're apprehensive about how to approach brands, but I think, you know, being, a genuine fan of the brand is always going to be important and put you in good stead. And, you know, these days you've got access to, you know, DMs and email addresses of brands. I think that's probably the primary way that people reach out to brands. You know, you know, maybe the smaller brands is a lot easier to connect with. The bigger brands, I think, as a creator, I personally have always tried to reach out to brands, and if I like a brand or I want to work with a brand, I've reached out and built a relationship over time. I've been fortunate to build some fantastic relationships with brands over the years that, brands I never dream of, of working with. And it's crazy to even think, when I, you know, put down the brands that I've been able to work with on paper, it's just incredible. Like, so social media's been, giving me that platform, to work with, like, Amazon, Dior, Coca-Cola, you know, loads of different brands, Samsung, you name it, like household brands. So it's amazing. Like, it's truly fantastic. So, but I always, try and reach out to brands and say, this is what I create, or this is what I do, or, if it's an initial interaction, it's probably, I think the more you do and the more you create stuff, then brands will come to you. So, it's a vice versa thing. And I think, as a creator, if you're trying to get started, have a genuine interest for a brand, follow them, see what they're about, know what they're about, do your research, find out who, where the company's based, and, try and find out about who works there, try and reach out to them, find a method. A lot of brands have their email addresses on, um, on their social media pages and stuff. Try and reach out to them. If you're drafting an email, make sure it's not a copy and paste job. Make sure it's genuine. Really tell a brand why you want to work with them.
Tell them what you can offer as well.
Yeah,
I
tell them
feel
what you
like
can offer. Yeah, tell
some
them what you
people
can
miss
offer.
that, and that's the
Yeah, of
most
course.
important thing.
That's the most important
Because
thing,
Because like people, if you just reach out to a brand and brands must get it a lot, and you just say, "Hey, I'd love to work with you. Can you send me some clothes?" And it's like,
Yeah, what are you
well,
offering? Yeah,
what's in it for me? And like the brands are a business at the end of the day. They want
of course.
the return on investment. They want to make sure that, like you say, you're genuine, you're interested, and it fits. And it's about building the relationship. And like a lot of the brands I've worked with that are like, I don't know, like Lee Jeans,
Hmm.
New Balance, Storm watches. Like it's all from building a relationship. Sometimes with PR, like PR plays a big
Yeah,
part of
PR
it
comes in
too.
as well. Yeah, of course.
But that's again, it's a relationship. It's networking. It's speaking to people and like say being genuine and like say I think one of the tips that I just give to people is just make sure you are genuine and you do sell yourself in a good way. Like
Yeah,
it's like pitching for a job interview almost is
yeah,
tell them what you bring to the table and make them want to work with you, not just hey, can you give me something? Because like I get that a lot, and
yeah,
like I say, I'm not even a brand. I'm not even selling a product, so Pretty Little Things DMs must be absolutely
yeah,
flooded,
flooded.
but
Yeah,
but
I can
it's
safely say, because I've been fortunate enough, I think, over the years to kind of, work with a lot of brands, and um, do kind of, I've been given the opportunity to do brand takeovers where I kind of, I'm on their Instagram or whatever, and I've been given, access to brands and stuff like that. And they get a lot of messages. They get a ton of messages. So, for them to be shifting through, you know, hundreds and hundreds of DMs every day where people are like, I'm so and so, I'll work for you. Copy and paste job. It's difficult. It's difficult to stand out. So, um, you've got to try your best to, like you say, um, try and sell yourself as best as possible, and build those relationships. But yeah, I'm really fortunate, probably like yourself, to have some great relationships with brands, and you know, brands and PRs. They're good people behind these. A lot of these brands. The PRs are fantastic people. They're really, they're great to, they become like your friends, and you get to interact with them, and build that relationship, and work with some of your dream brands. And it's just like anything else. Like you say, it's like, if it's a career that you want to pursue, and you've got to treat it like that, and you know um, really have an approach to how you want to the brands you want to work with, and things aren't just going to fall at your feet, as much as you'd like it to. You've got to go out there and make stuff happen if that's what you want to do, if you want to work with brands and stuff. But yeah, these days now, I'm fortunate enough to have brands come to me and approach me, and it's out of the blue. A lot of opportunities have come out of the blue. I think if you're a content creator, you've got to put yourself out there as much as possible. I think that's the main thing. And we're in a world now where you can make things happen. You can fulfill those dreams and aspirations that you have, and build those connections, and really put yourself in a position where you're making stuff happen for yourself. It's a great time to be a content creator, definitely.
Yeah, agreed. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up there. It's a good summary of if you want to do these things, you've got to put the work in, and you've got to show what you've got to offer. But I just want to say off the back of that, thanks for taking the time today, Remy, to chat to us.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, man.
As a content creator, the main thing you need to do here is plug yourself. So where can people go find you? Where can people go and check stuff out?
So people can follow me on Instagram. It's REMI, AKANDE on Instagram, Remy Candy. Also the same on TikTok. Just trying to get started on TikTok. That's a whole new world. I've also got a blog website, which is remyakande.com. So REMIAKANDE.com. Check me out on there. I'm always posting content and stuff, and working with loads of different brands and at different events and stuff. And so come drop me a follow on there, drop me a DM if you want to chat about stuff. Obviously follow Bloc as well. Ryan's a great guy, built an amazing page. Like I said, I've been a fan of Bloc for years. Even like coming on here and coming and jumping on the podcast with you is amazing, because I always big up the page, love followed it for years, and to have a chat with you, man, it's been it's been a real pleasure, man. You've built up an amazing community, and just keep doing what you're doing, and opportunities are going to keep coming your way, and you're making something happen. So hats off to you.
Thanks, man. Really, really appreciate it. Have a good evening, and everything will be linked in the bio. So if you do want to check something out, I'll make sure it's there.
Nice one. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you.